Welcome back to the Grind, Sleep, Repeat podcast. In today's video, we are going to be talking all things Murph related.
Yes, Murph 2025. This is like one of our favorite events of the year. We always have an event here at the gym where we invite people, our clients or friends and family to come do Murph here. So we're going to give you tips on how to structure Murph. If this is your first time, if this is your 15th time doing Murph, this is something that we're going to cover how you can improve your time, how to structure things a little bit more, and just take out the guesswork because no one wants to show up for Murph Day and be like, what's this workout that we're doing? And then realize that you got to run 2 miles, you got to do 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, and 300 squats. So let's create some structure. Let's dive deep into the workouts and talk about how you can modify, talk about how you can structure it to just have a good experience with Murph.
So briefly going over what exactly Murph is, you kind of touched over it real quickly, but just in case you guys didn't catch that, it's 1 mile run, 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 body weight squats, and then 1 mile run again. And we're doing this for time.
Yeah, it's a doozy, and it sounds pretty simple up front, but this is a workout that was created from a Navy SEAL, and he was killed in combat. And so every Memorial Day, people around the country and around the world really do this workout to celebrate the sacrifice. And it is a brutal workout. And the best thing about it is you can always get better. You can always improve your time. You can always learn something new or learn something about yourself, like where you quit or where it's challenging, or like it just teaches you a lot about yourself and teaches grit and sacrifice. And that's why I think I really love it, because you got to show up mentally ready for this workout. But as long as you have the structure, you can get through this workout and take away a lot of things from it.
Yeah, and today we're going to kind of go over ways that you can do it in a modified way as well. So if you're somebody who's like, that sounds crazy and like nothing that I would ever want to do, there is a way to modify it so that it's not as challenging. And then throughout the years, you can, progress as you go on.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of times, we'll have people that come back year after year to do it here at the gym. And, one year, maybe someone is doing a half Murph, or one year they're doing, a very assisted banded pull-ups and assisted push-ups on their knees. There's a lot of ways to progress it, but from year to year, your training, you can evolve your training and get better, get stronger, become more aerobically fit, and you can get better at this workouts. And I think that's the first thing that we really want to dive into is figure out what Murph you are doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just getting people together and doing it, there's no shame in regressing this workout. There's no shame in not doing the whole thing.
It's hard no matter what.
Yeah, it's hard no matter what. So what are you trying to accomplish with this workout? Are you trying to do the full thing? Because if you're trying to do the full thing, it's 20-pound vest for males, 14-pound vest for females. That's the full prescribed workouts. Actually, technically, the full workout is you do all the 1 mile run, then you do all 100 pull-ups before you move into all 200 push-ups, before you move into all 300 squats, and then you finish with a mile run. So is that the version you're trying to do? You might approach things a little differently. Are you trying to do the variation that you're doing 1 mile run, 20 rounds of 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 15 squats, 1 mile run? Are you trying to do a half Murph where you just do half of everything? Maybe you can't run. Sometimes we have some clients that will row. If you're going to row, you're going to row 1,600 meters in place of that. So There's so many options. And if you have questions, just let us know in the comment section below. And while you're down there, we actually have a free Murph prep guide that you can download. So I'll leave the link to that in the comments below. But the main point you want to get across here is like, there's so many variations of this workout that you can do. You have to figure out first, what is it that you're going to train for leading up to the next, couple months before Murph happens? And what are you going to do on Murph Day?
Yeah, so starting off, it's good to get an assessment of kind of where you're at. I would definitely not advise weighted vest Murph if you are somebody who is just getting into weight training. It's one of those things you need to build up to. To be honest, that's not even something that I've ever done. So just keep in mind that just because you're not using the weighted vest doesn't mean you didn't Murph, or just because you're not running doesn't mean it doesn't count. It counts. You're still doing the workout. You're still doing the best, putting in the best effort that you have. So give yourself an assessment and, see where you're at as far as your pull-ups. Do you need to do them banded? When we're assessing too, when we're doing those banded pull-ups, we don't want to do them where we're at failure the first set. You wanna make sure that as far as your endurance goes, you're able to do all 100 pull-ups. So, starting off with that, same with your push-ups. Can you do, 5, 10 in a row push-ups without failing regular push-ups, or do you have to go on your knees? As far as your squats, body weight squats, you wanna get a nice good full range of motion on these, and we're just doing them body weighted. But keep in mind, body weighted squats do get hard as we go on, especially, going from your mile run, coming back in, we're doing all those squats, we're constantly moving, and then going back out to do that mile run again. So just kind of give yourself an assessment, see where you're at, and see where you need to improve as well.
Yeah, I think testing it, maybe you don't want to do a full Murph test. I would not advise that, but maybe you run through a quarter or a half
Mhm.
in the next couple weeks, depending on when you're listening to this podcast. We have about 2 months until, Murph is typically done on Memorial Day weekend. So maybe you run through a test, just see where you're at. Do a quarter to a half. If you're going to do a quarter, you're going to run 400 meters. You're going to do, see if my math is good, 25 pull-ups.
Mm.
You're going to do 50 push-ups. You're going to do 75 squats, and then you're going to run another 400 meters. If you're doing a half, you're going to half a mile, 50 pull-ups, 100 push-ups, 150 squats, run half a mile. See how that feels. And we're going to talk about in a second how to partition reps a little bit, how to structure things. Again, the people listening to this podcast, there's going to be a lot of different fitness levels. So anyone can kind of take away from this. But the main thing is I would test it. And that Murph prep guide that I talked about that's down in the comment section kind of outlines how to do this as well. So definitely download that. Like I said, it's down in the comment section below. It's free PDF guide that you can download that's going to help you on Murph Day. So test it. And then let's kind of talk next into the structure of the workout. How do you approach this workout? Starting with the mile run, how should you pace, and really what to expect from this workout?
Yeah, I think in the assessment, you can kind of get a good idea of where you're at too. But the mile run is also one of those things that we don't want to PR, because if we are going out hot, getting in that, you know, intense mile run, we're going to come in here and we're going to be gassed. And the thought of doing, 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 squats. So the thought of coming in here after an intense run of you sprinting the whole entire time, is just going to fatigue you a lot quicker. So the idea is to pace yourself.
Yeah, I almost equate this to like if you've ever ran a race before, like a 5K, 10K, half marathon, full marathon, you're excited. Like when you come in from Murph, there's just energy, especially if you're doing it with a group of people. It's like, we're going to crush this workout, America, and everybody's just super excited. So you're going to want to go out hot on that first mile. And if you're anything like us and you're competitive, you're going to want to try and win that first mile and know your capabilities of where you're at. So if you can run a 7-minute mile and come in and, you're not really huffing and puffing, great. You can go do that. If 7 minutes is like your PR mile, I would not go run 7 minutes on Murph Day. So dial it back maybe a minute, 90 seconds from what you normally would do, because in the grand scheme of things, if you take your pace back a minute or even 2 minutes on that first mile, if that saves you later on, we'll talk about that in a second, it saves you from taking a lot of breaks. It's going to be so much worth it. You don't win or PR the Murph on that first mile. It definitely, you can shoot yourself in the foot very easily. So I would also, like we talked about earlier, maybe go test what you're capable of doing in a 1-mile run situation so that what is my PR time? Okay, on Murph Day, I definitely don't want to run that fast. So I got to pull it back another minute to 2 minutes from where that's at. And that's going to be a really good sweet spot to run on your first mile. So like we talked about, don't sprint the first mile. Let's talk about the 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 squats next. The way the workout's written, like we said earlier, it's written if you're doing the full thing, prescribed, it's all 100, all 200, all 300. You can't move on to your push-ups until you complete your pull-ups. The way that most people do it is they partition it into 20 rounds of 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 15 squats. This is the most effective way to do it, especially because there's so many reps and there's so much volume with this workout. So while you're doing your pull-ups, your pushing muscles and your legs are resting. While you're doing your push-ups, your pulling muscles and your legs are resting. while you're doing your squats, your upper body's completely resting. So it works really well because it's very different muscle groups. It's not like it's, a bench press into a push up into a tricep push down. Like that, those all would really conflict with each other. So it works well to do the 5, 10, 15 for 20 rounds. It does get hard to count though. So that's something you might want to get a marker, and put tally marks on your forearms, or have a piece of paper that you tally mark real quick that if you're really sweaty and you're sweating off that marker. So just realize that if you're doing 20 rounds, it is a ton of counting, 5, 10, 15. It's a lot of counting, especially if we get into what we talked about in a second. So again, back to what we talked about earlier, figure out what style of Murph you were trying to do, because that's going to determine how you train, how you prep, what you test, and then ultimately what you do when you show up for Murph Day in the workout.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's smart to either get a pen and paper, keep track of that, or have somebody keep track of it for you. But the marker thing is kind of fun because then it's like you're at the end of your workout, you're like, I did this.
Yep. 20. Yep. We got 20 tally marks. Yep.
Yeah. So that's accomplishing. But I think too, the major goal here is to never stop moving. It's like you said, we're using different muscle parts in this workout. So you're getting that rest and that break in between by using different muscle groups. If you can't get through all 10 push-ups and you're finding yourself completing 5 and then you're going on your knees and trying to catch your breath and then you're able to get another 5, my suggestion is instead of being on your knees and resting, get up, do some bodyweight squats, go back down, finish out those push-ups. I know this makes it even harder to count though, but the goal here is to keep moving, because the second you stop moving, first of all, you're gonna, stall your time even longer. And second of all, in something like this, you never want to stop moving. It's like running a half marathon, running a race. The second I stop, I'm like, wow, that feels really nice.
Yeah.
That stopping feels really nice. I think I might want to stop.
So much harder to start. Yeah.
Exactly. So,
The structure. So what we can kind of talk about next, and this is going to help you if you test it. And I would highly recommend testing. I can't emphasize that enough. Test a quarter or a half Murph, figure some things out, figure out what your weak points are. And to Alyssa's point, maybe your weak points are push-ups. Maybe you're really good at pull-ups. Maybe your air squats are just movement, but the push-ups, you're struggling to get 10 in a row. You're going to partition things a little different. Or maybe your pull-ups are weak. You're going to partition things a little different. So what I would try to do while you're testing, the best way to structure this is the last thing we want to come in and do is we run our first mile hard. We go right to the pull-up bar and we just start ripping. We go 5, 10, 15, 5, 10, 15, 5, 10, 15. We feel good. We're cooking. And then we get like 8 to 10 rounds in and you get hit by a freaking Mack truck. And you're like, oh my
100%.
God, I got to take 3 minutes here, catch my breath. And those rounds get really long. And then it takes you 3 minutes to complete each round. If that happens, you're just fighting against your body and your time is going to get really long. It's going to be really miserable. So what I would recommend instead to do is I would try to treat this almost like if you've ever done an EMOM every minute on the minute. You don't have to do 5, 10, 15 every minute on the minute if you're not capable of doing that. But say that, it takes you a minute to do 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 15 squats. And again, this is a purely example. You're going to figure this out when you test. Maybe you want to start each round every 90 seconds.
Yeah.
Where you get 30 seconds to go mark your tally mark down, re-chalk your hands, take some deep breaths, get your heart rate down a little bit, and then you start that next round. Or maybe it takes you 90 seconds to go 5, 10, 15. Then you want to take maybe every 2 minutes. So the idea is at the end of every round, you want to have micro rest. And what I mean by that is if taking an additional 15, 20, 30 seconds at the end of each round, if that helps you complete all those rounds in a row without taking like 5 minutes rest in any given round, or the rounds start really taking really long,
Right.
you're going to make up so much time. So it might sound like, wait a second, do you want me to rest at the end of each round? But say you take 20 seconds rest at the end of each round. That's only like, what is that? 6 additional minutes, So
Right.
really it's not that much extra time added on to the overall time. And if it avoids these really big rest times, it's going to pay off big time. So again, go test, figure this out, figure out where you struggle. I would test how long it takes you to go 5, 10, 15, keep a watch or put a timer on, And then you never want to just go right back into it because it sounds good. Like those first couple rounds will feel really good. You might get 5 to 10 rounds in, and I promise you, you're going to get hit by a wall. So micro rest is good. It's the best way to structure it to continue to do 5, 10, 15 micro rest, 5, 10, 15 micro rest. And you can repeat that over and over and over again. It's going to help you get to that magic number of 100, 200, 300 so much more efficiently. And it's going to avoid so much fatigue that can set in if you just start ripping.
Yeah, for sure. I think something you mentioned too is chalk, because that's a big thing that you do not want to forget to do, because my hands get torn up from that bar. But I don't know that we mentioned this yet too, but the way that we do Murph is we do 20 rounds. We're doing 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, and then 15 air squats. So if that seems like even too much for you, you can break that down to even smaller reps. There's so many different ways that you can do this. If, you want to do 10 rounds, you can do 10 pull-ups, and you can do 20 push-ups, and you can do 30 squats. So you can break this down so differently depending on your expertise and how advanced you are.
It sounds better. It's like, oh, 10 rounds. That sounds better. Go try 5 rounds of that and then tell me how you feel. It's hard. Like
Yeah.
the 10 pull-ups, like if you can crank out 10 pull-ups, that's awesome. But doing it repetitively, and then also what I find too doing that is the 20 push-ups starts to get really hard. Like your triceps just start to fatigue, and then you start hitting like singles on push-ups. So again, you're going to find so much out when you test and find out where your strengths. You need to play to your strengths, and you need to also figure out how to get through your weaknesses. So
Yeah.
we can talk about that next. We're going to record a couple episodes about Murph on the podcast and on our YouTube channel. So make sure you guys are subscribed. And if you have certain questions on Murph, definitely let us know in the comments section. We're going to try to cover a lot of content. But again, there's so many people out there that their fitness levels are so different. So you might have specific questions. Just let us know. We'd love to help you out. But let's talk about next. Say that Susie comes in and she knows that she can't get 10 push-ups in a row. She's good at pull-ups. She's good at air squats. How would she structure that? And let's kind of talk about each individual. Let's give an example of how to partition your reps differently based on if you struggle with the push-ups, if you struggle with the pull-ups, or if you struggle with the air squats.
Well, starting off, the reason that we assess so soon is so that we can improve. So let's say she comes in today and she says, we assess her and she's not getting 10 push-ups in a row. Well, from there, we're able to build and get better and get stronger and do the things we need to do to get her to be able to do that. But let's say Murph is tomorrow or whatever, and she's unable to. The way that we can do that is we can break that down. So push-ups, you could do 3 push-ups if she can get 3 push-ups, and then she can go into her body weight squats and then come back down and get the rest of her push-ups.
Yeah, so doing it to where if she can get all of her pull-ups in a row, she would come and do 5 pull-ups. She would go down on the ground. I would try to get at least 5. So if you can get 5 push-ups, stand back up, do 15 air squats, back down on the ground, and do 5 push-ups. So she split up her reps. Within each round, it's still 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 15 squats. But if you're somebody that struggles with the push-up aspect,
Me.
a lot of people, 200 push-ups is a lot in a workout.
Yeah.
If your arms just start to go, what I would try to avoid with this workout is hitting muscle failure. So if you know that you can't get 10 push-ups in a row, this is the way to go. Do your 5 pull-ups, 5 push-ups, 15 air squats, 5 push-ups.
That's what I
split up a little
typically
bit
do.
different. Yep. And have a lot of clients that they'll try and get 10 rounds in of the 5, 10, 15, but then they know on the back half,
That's what I do.
they're going to have to break up the reps like that. That's okay. The trick with this, it really doesn't take that much time or that much extra time as long as you're quick with your transitions. What I mean by that is don't lollygag when you go from your
Up,
push-ups. You stand up, you do a couple circles, and then you go to your air squats, and then you kind of do a circle, and then go back down to the ground. Like, be efficient and be quick. If you can do that, basically it takes about just as much time as if you were to do the 5, 10, 15.
Right.
So you could also do this for your pull-ups. So say that you struggle with pull-ups, you're like, I can only do 5 pull-ups in a row once. Okay, maybe you could do 3 pull-ups to start. You go down to the ground, you hit 10 push-ups, stand back up, 2 pull-ups, 15 air squats. You're still doing 5, 10, 15. It's just partitioned in a way that is going to avoid hitting muscle failure. That's really the trick with this
100%.
workout, because if you start hitting muscle failure too soon, what happens is, and if you've ever seen this in a workout or have done this in a workout, if you hit muscle failure, you get diminishing returns. So if you go do a bench press, let's say you load up as much weight as you can, and then you go an AMRAP set to failure, and then you try and back down, say you take off another 20, 30, 40 pounds, that back down set is going to be so much harder than it normally would because you're going to get diminishing returns. So the main point I'm trying to say here is test your Murph. That's kind of the theme of today's video. And then avoid muscle failure, whatever that looks like. And I would also practice this, the 3 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 2 pull-ups, 15 squats, or the 5 pull-ups, 5 push-ups, 15 squats, 5 push-ups. Practice that because you might hit muscle failure in the workout. And if you know what to do and you know how to counter, that can be a super effective tool, versus if you're like, I don't remember what to do if I start hitting muscle failure. Then this workout starts to get really long and it's really not that enjoyable when that happens. So know how to pivot within the workout. You have a game plan going into the workout, but that's just like life. You always have a game plan, but sometimes shit hits the fan and you got to pivot. Yeah, most days. We can all have this. I love that. What's that country song where it's like, you make a plan and you hear God laughing? It's like, it's so true, because you come up with the plan. You're like, this is how my life is going to be. This is what I'm going to do with this time frame.
I mean, it is. Psych.
Shit hits the fan and it's like, you got to know how to pivot. So Murph is the same way. You got to know when this happens, how should I pivot? Okay, I'm at this point in the workout. I feel good. Should I push more? Should I reserve a little bit? It's really just, it's a little fun game. And I think that's why it's so addicting too, is like, because you can always improve, or you can always maneuver these little variables and train in a certain way and like see if it helps. And it's just kind of fun because everybody that you're doing it with is going through the same pain, the same sacrifice. Like there's no judgment. There's no like, everybody's doing the same thing. And I think it's really powerful when you get a group of people together that are sacrificing for the same cause. Like that's a super powerful thing.
Yeah, and no one's looking at you and judging you because they're so focused on what they're going through in the moment that there's no room for judgment or looking around and seeing what anyone else is doing. But yeah, we're all going through the pain together. I think too, the biggest thing is just, like you said, just that constant movement. Because if you struggle with push-ups, like for me, for example, that's been something I've been working on all year and I've gotten a lot better. But, if that's something that you struggle with, know that you could crank out some pull-ups or some squats if that's where you're struggling. So just that constant movement, again, that's going to be harder to track and tally and count, because as you go through this 20 rounds, you're like, where am I? I don't know. What number am I on? If you're anything like me, I'm like, squirrel, I don't know where I'm at right now.
None of us are math majors. We'll just...
No. I can count to 10 and that's part of my job. But, it's just something to keep your body moving, keep you constantly going, because like I said, you're going to want to stop if you stop for too long. So I think that's the biggest thing. There's tons of ways to modify this, which is something that we can get into later on too in the next podcast, because like I said, some of you are going to be at a more advanced level. Some of you are going to be at a more beginner phase, and there's nothing wrong with either, but there's tons of ways that you can modify this.
So the last thing that I wanted to touch on is the last mile. And at this point, when you've made it through 1 mile run, 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 squats, you were sweating like crazy. Your legs feel like freaking rubber. Your arms are trashed. Your soul is crushed, but you still have to run a mile. So my biggest tip that I can say on that last mile is just start. Like, you're not going to want to start however you're running your mile, whether it's on a treadmill or running outside or whatever it looks like. Just get your legs moving. Even if it's a slow pace, like
It
just
probably would
get them
be.
moving, because the longer you walk, again, that's just time clicking away. So start the run. It's going to feel awful. But just like when you're running, like, you're going to start to fall into a rhythm. It's going to hurt. Your legs are going to be trashed. But just at this point in the workout, you're almost there. Try and give it everything you got and see how far you can push yourself. I think this is the point that I always look forward to on my Murph, because I know this is where most people want to quit. This is where I know I want to quit. So you find out a lot about yourself, where it's like, this last mile, let's see what I got. What am I made of? How mentally and physically strong am I? Can I give it everything that I got? Maybe it's not going to be a PR mile. Actually, it's definitely not going to be a PR mile, but what am I capable of doing and the effort that I'm capable of giving? If you can give 100% effort and finish strong, I think that says a lot about you. Doesn't mean it has to be a 6-minute mile or
Oh,
7-minute mile or 8-minute mile, whatever it is. Like, just give your effort, your 100% of what you have, and think back to the sacrifice and what this workout is really about.
purpose of
Yes,
it.
the purpose of this workout is to feel pain. And this is the point where you're going to feel pain like you may have never felt before. So start running, even if it's slow. Just try and keep running. Try not to stop and walk again, because if you stop, it's so much harder to start. So if you got to slow down, that's okay, but just give it everything you got. And when you are coming down the home stretch, you got to finish strong. You got to give it everything you got to where when you finish that last mile, you should almost feel like you got to fall over and you can't stand. Like, that's the intensity I want you to bring to this workout. And that's something that we always try and replicate here at the gym, is like that culture of just bring your effort, bring some passion, finish strong, and just give it 100% of what you have.
Yeah, for sure. I think having the community to do something like this makes you push to at that last mile. You're looking around, and for instance, I love doing this with Jordan because we're both super competitive, and it's like
Just a little bit.
on that last mile, it's like, oh, I'm gonna get him, or like, you're trying to catch me, vice versa. And it's funny, you think that you're running so fast, and then you look down at your watch and you're like, "Woof, that was an ego," you know?
Ego check. Yeah.
You're like, you know,
Like, I'm flying. I'm cooking. Look down. It's like 10-minute pace.
yeah, you're like, "Oh, okay." I thought my legs were turning over a lot quicker than that. So, definitely suggest, if you are local or you have a community that you can do this with, that you get together with a group of people and, go through the pain and torture together and cheer each other on. And, when you finish the race, start cheering everyone on, because, the whole purpose behind this is, like you said, to go through the pain and, suffer through the workout.
Yeah, this is our 5th or 6th year doing Murph together. Alyssa, like, typically before we started training hybrid, like, Alyssa was so much better at cardio than me. And there's been so many years where, like, Alyssa's like 20 seconds ahead of me, and I've just everything I got to try to catch her the whole mile. And it's like we stay the same pace ahead of each other. So
It's that endurance.
Alyssa's good at the running part, which, is a great strength. Like, if you can have an efficient run, this is a workout that it's going to be challenging no matter what you do, but that's awesome. So yeah, just get a little competitive with each other and find some people that maybe are, I always like to find people that have the same mindset. It doesn't matter their fitness level or their capability, but just like the same mindset. Surround yourself with those people that they want to do hard things. They want to suffer, and they want to challenge what's possible with their bodies and with their mind. And this is definitely a good workout to do it. So
Yeah.
definitely a fun one.
Merca.
After you're done with the workout, I would definitely replenish with some electrolytes. Do not go shotgun beers. I know a lot of people get crazy, and it's like Memorial Day weekend, and that's a great way to get rhabdo. So if you don't know what rhabdo is, go Google it. You definitely don't want rhabdo.
Uh,
We'll always do at least, and on Murph Day, actually, I double up the scoop on electrolytes. So we'll do 2 scoops of our pink Starburst electrolyte. Again, water is not enough. Beer is definitely not going to be the right choice to replenish the
We'll just
electrolyte.
dehydrate you.
Yeah, the electrolytes that you've lost. You're going to be sweating like crazy. So if you would like to try our pink Starburst electrolytes, I'll leave the link as well down in the comments and description below, as well as a discount code to go use. It's freaking awesome. Has potassium, magnesium, and sodium. No artificial sweeteners or flavors, and is naturally sweetened. So definitely go give that a shot. It's the perfect thing to replenish your electrolytes after a workout like Murph and after a hard workout or a hard run every day. So this is our first podcast on Murph. We're going to be coming out with more episodes talking about how to train for Murph. So make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, and then also that you're subscribed to 2 other YouTube channels. So Alyssa has her own YouTube channel, Alyssa Schaefer Fitness. And then depending on what platform you're listening on, we also just recently started a Fit Grind formula training, which will actually probably put this podcast on there. So you might be on that one.
Yep.
Just make sure that you subscribed, you turn on notifications, because we're going to be putting out more content on Murph, how to train, how to prep, how to fuel for it. So if you don't want to miss that, just make sure that you're subscribed. So thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you guys in the next one.